Okay, everyone, good morning and welcome to today's presentation on behalf of the California Department of Veterans Affairs and the California Transition Assistance Program. We would like to welcome you to today's presentation on the claims and appeals process. We have a lot of information to go over today in a relatively short amount of time, and we have a lot of attendees today. So thank you so much for your interest and your participation in today's webinar. We hope to give you some really great and valuable information, not only regarding the benefits and services that you or your family member may be entitled to as a California veteran, but also regarding the claims process as well. So we're going to go over this information for you today, and we encourage your questions, and we're going to kind of go over some housekeeping and some of the agenda items today as well. So as far as some general housekeeping for today, we do ask that if you are not a presenter to please keep your cameras turned off and your microphones muted. We have a full house today as far as our attendees. So just eliminating some of those distractions and saving on the bandwidth for the presentation would really be helpful. As far as the agenda goes today, we're going to be going over the CalTAP program, exactly what benefits and services are offered through CalTAP, an overview of the California veterans benefits here in the state, and as well as our local interagency network coordinator who serves a regional part of California and some of the benefits and services that they can provide. And then we are going to be going into the claims and appeals process with our Calvet district office manager, Zime Ramundo. So a lot of information to share with you. So we are glad that you're joining us today. So as far as the questions and answers portion of today, we do ask that you use that Q&A tab. So this is kind of a snapshot on Zoom if you aren't familiar with how to use it. This is just kind of a snapshot of how to use that tab. But if you are scrolling on your toolbar down there at the bottom, there's one feature that says chat, and there's another feature that says Q&A. We do respectfully ask that you use that Q&A. I anticipate that we're going to have a lot of questions throughout today's webinar, and we'll certainly try and address each and every one of those as time permits. So feel free to use that tab. We encourage you to ask as you're listening, as you're following along, but we will hold those questions until the end. Or if my colleague Jana on the other end is able to answer those questions directly on the spot, she will be facilitating the Q&A portion. So please use that Q&A tab if you have any questions for a specific presenter or that subject matter expert. So let's go ahead and begin with the CalTAP overview. My name is Derek Rose. I'm a CalTAP training coordinator for the CalTAP program. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I've been a trainer for CalTAP for just over 2 years, and I'm really excited to bring you this information today as far as what the CalTAP program is. So exactly what is CalTAP? It's designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned federal and state benefits. And we do like to emphasize that we make these services available to all eras of veterans because we know that veterans' needs change over time. The needs of a post 9/11 veteran may not be the same as the needs of a Vietnam era veteran. So the way that we've done that is we've created our Pathways program. And you can see each one of those 5 pathways, which is our core curriculum pathway, which is essentially Veterans Benefits 101. And we're going to kind of dive deep into the core curriculum pathway in this presentation. But core curriculum is everything from how to file a claim for disability compensation, how to request your service records, how to file for VA healthcare, kind of the basic needs of a veteran or their family member, as well as our education, employment, entrepreneurship, and our veteran service provider pathway. So if a service member's transition is going to be taking them to any one of these key areas, we've designed self-paced learning modules on our website that we're going to show you how to navigate to kind of help you get started and kind of really plant that seed of information of all those benefits and services that are available in each one of those pathways. I'd also like to give a plug to our California Veterans Resource Book. This is a great tool to keep handy. If you do not have a hard copy, you can download this on our website. I highly recommend keeping just a PDF version on handy. And my colleague Jana, I believe, will be sending a link to download this in that chat feature. So it's really, just covers all of your veterans benefits from federal, state, local, county resources as well. Kind of goes over all of the eligibility criteria for each one of the benefits that we're going to be covering today. Really great tool to keep handy, and we're going to be referring to this book a few times throughout the presentation. So just want to show you this and make this available to you as well. So how to find our program, CalTAP, on our website. This is our main page through Calvet. If you go to that little icon down there on the bottom right-hand side, that is where it says CalTAP. And if you clicked on CalTAP, that will show you our main page, and as well as, pardon me, just let me move one thing. That little highlight down there at the bottom, that circle that says archives, that is our whole series of online webinars that we're doing. This webinar will be recorded and placed on our website as well. But over the last, I'd say about 18 months or so, since we've kind of shifted virtually, we have created a whole series of webinars that are topic specific to any veteran's needs, anything from education, employment, mental health resources as well, housing information. So if you want to refer back to anything that you might find useful to you, you can view our whole series of webinars archived on our website. So how to actually use CalTAP online. I just showed you this slide, but we mentioned that core curriculum right there. So if you wanted to get started in core curriculum, that'll give you all of the learning modules that are placed in the core curriculum. But for today, we want to highlight two, which is module 4, which is the claims and compensation portion. And if you clicked on module 4, and we're going to dive deep into this in a few moments, but we just want to give you a snapshot. It's really going to give you an overview of the claims and compensation process, the different types of compensation, talking about anything from submitting the proper evidence to your claim, and really, just going over the detailed process. But like I said, we're going to, fully explain this here in a few moments, but I just wanted to give you a snapshot on where to find that information if you'd like to refer back to like a PDF learning lesson on anything that we covered today. And if you have any questions, you can kind of go back here and find all the information that we discussed. As also within our core curriculum, we want to just give a quick overview of module 5, which are the California specific veterans benefits here in the state. So pushing forward, if you, again, refer to our veterans resource book, all of this information will be in there, everything that we're covering today. So I highly encourage you to keep that handy. So let's kind of just go over a quick overview of what those are, and then we'll move on to the presentation. So probably our most commonly utilized or popular benefit is the California Tuition Fee Waiver Program. And this waives the tuition and fees at any state-funded school, which is a UC, CSU, or community college. This is specifically for a veteran's dependent, so their child and or spouse, if eligible, based on the level of service-connected disability. So this is a great benefit program if you have children that are approaching college and you are a service-connected veteran. Highly encourage you to assess your eligibility for this program. As you can see, it saves California veterans several millions of dollars a year in tuition. So this is a great program. And so this kind of ties into the theme today of service-connected disability and how it's so important to your benefits going forward. DMV programs, we partner with DMV on a few different programs. The most commonly is that Veterans Driver's License Designation, which allows you to just place the word veteran on your California ID or driver's license. This is just a nice way to show your veteran status so you don't have to carry around your DD form 214 everywhere you go to get those local discounts or benefits for your service. The Honoring Veterans License Plate Program, this is available to all California motorists. You don't even have to be a veteran to have this. It's just a personalized license plate that you can personalize with your logo or emblem from your period of service or a branch of service. It's just a nice way to show that camaraderie and appreciation. And the Motor Vehicle Registration Fee Waiver. This is based on the level of service-connected disability that also impairs your mobility. But if you have that eligibility and you get a physician's certification, you can actually apply through DMV on their form to have your motor vehicle registration fee waived. So I'll encourage you to work with an accredited veteran service representative, such as your county veteran service office, or even reach out to us at Calvet to assess your actual eligibility for these programs. Outdoor activities, California is a great place for recreational activities. You can actually apply to have a reduced fee on your hunting and fishing license for disabled veterans. You would simply apply through this for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, as well as state parks passes. If you have a 50% service connection, you can apply through the California Department of Parks and Recreation for the Distinguished Veterans State Parks Pass, and this allows you free entry into all of the state park operated systems here in California. Tax programs, there's the Disabled Veteran Property Tax Exemption. So if you have a total disability rating, which is 100% from the VA, you can apply through your county assessor's office for a certain exemption amount on your owned property. So highly encourage you to do this. Each county offers this program. The exemption amount, I believe, fluctuates a little bit from county to county, but you do have that eligibility if you have that total disability rating. Business license, tax and fee exemption. If you want to sell any goods or products or services and you needed a business license to do so, you can check with your local issuing office for that license, whether it's city or county, to see if they can honor that exemption for you. And the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program, I would personally classify this under one of our entrepreneurship programs, but that acronym DVBE, it is a state certification that you can have applied to your business if you're a disabled veteran business owner, and that certification allows you to do business with the state of California. So if you wanted to get into any industry that sells back to the state, whether it's construction services or IT services or something along those lines, that certification allows you a certain type of bidding preference for the state of California in government contract. Calvet Home Loans, this is another one of our great programs at Calvet. It can provide full financing for veterans. We have competitive interest rates as opposed to the private market, and oftentimes lower no down payment requirements. So I won't talk too much about the Calvet home loan for now, but it is a great program to take advantage of if you're interested in home ownership. You may be familiar with the VA home loan, but Calvet uses your VA home loan eligibility, and Calvet actually serves as the lender on your loan, as opposed to if you used a VA home loan, you would still be going through a private lender. In this case, you'd actually be paying your mortgage to Calvet. So what that means is Calvet is able to work a little bit more directly with a veteran on their home loan as far as the underwriting process, and it really aims to serve the veteran the best way they can to get them into home ownership. So highly encourage you to reach out to our home loans division at our headquarters buildings in Sacramento if you'd like to find out more and at least consider why the Calvet home loan might be a good option for you. Calvet Women's Veterans, this is another great program at our headquarters building, provides information, advocacy, and outreach and support to all the California women's veterans. And they work in direct partnership with the California Women's Veterans Leadership Council. And they actually manage what is called the California Women's Veterans Roster. And that is a great way for women veterans to connect, whether really building that network, which is so important in the transition process, whether it's women business owners or mentors or other entrepreneurs, just a really way to connect and keep that camaraderie going as well. So this is where you can find that division through our website and reach out to them directly, as well as you can kind of see a snapshot of some of the services and who they serve as well. The same thing with our Minority Veterans Outreach Program, information, advocacy, outreach to support of all of California's minority veterans. A key aspect of this program is to actually help unnaturalized veterans with citizenship and naturalization resources. Again, and there's their contact information on our website, their email address and phone number, and some of the information about who they serve as far as the underserved and minority veterans and underrepresented veterans, I should say, in our state. Calvet Homes for long-term care. Calvet operates 8 veterans homes throughout the state, and these homes have all different levels of care, all the way from independent living through skilled nursing facility. They offer medical, dental, rehabilitation, and social activities. And you can see where each one of those homes are located. So they're spread out pretty well spread out throughout the state of California. So maybe not on your radar at this point, but maybe somebody who has that eligibility. Or if you are interested in yourself, you can reach out to us to find out a little bit more about how to apply for residency in a Calvet Veterans Home. State cemeteries, you may be familiar with the National Cemetery Administration through the federal VA, but Calvet operates 3 cemeteries here stateside as well. We have our Central Coast Cemetery, which is located in Seaside, our Northern California Cemetery in Shasta County up in Redding, and our Yountville Veterans Home Cemetery in Yountville, which is in Napa County. That Yountville Cemetery, you do have to be a resident of that home for placement into the Yountville Home Cemetery. So this is just some additional information for you. If that time of need does come, either yourself or your family member can be made aware of these services available to you. So some common veteran websites that you may be familiar with or have come across already or are preparing to navigate. So the federal VA, they have a pretty nicely designed website themselves, kind of similar to like the module-based platform that we have with Calvet. So you can anywhere from healthcare, disability claims, your records requests, how to download your award letters, and how to file for your education benefits and print out your certificate of eligibility for your home loans and track your GI Bill payments. This is a great way to kind of get started. And as well as e-benefits. E-benefits is a great way for you to track and manage all of the benefits you're in receipt of. You can also apply for benefits through e-benefits. You absolutely have that eligibility to do so. Just personally, I would always recommend working with an accredited veteran service representative before you apply for any benefits, just to make sure that you have the proper representation to the VA for any claims that you're filing for. My Health eVet, if you are have chosen to receive your health care through the VA, you can go on My Health eVet and manage anything from your prescriptions, schedule appointments, message your primary care physician, and maintain all of your health records there as well. So I just wanted to make this available to you. So there's some additional, I know we covered a lot of information in just a quick period of time, but some additional ways to kind of stay connected with us and CalTAP. If you'd like to reach out, you can always reach out to us and provide your non-DoD email to our email address at caltap@calvet.ca.gov. That's just a way to stay connected, and we can keep you informed of all of the webinars that we're doing and all of the trainings, and it's a way to stay up to date. We are going to be sending out a survey in our chat box shortly. We highly encourage you to take this survey to let us know how we're doing. We definitely use this survey to make sure we're presenting all of the best information for all the veterans and their family members as well. You can register on My Calvet on our webpage. This allows you to create a profile and just to have personalized updates sent to you based on your needs of what you might be interested in. You can follow us along on our social media platforms as well. And as always, you can attend our webinars to stay up to date on everything that we're doing with CalTAP. So, and that is my direct contact information. My name is Derek Rose. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions on anything that I covered today. I'll be happy to take all the time needed to go over anything that you have questions on. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and transition over to Annette Hulliver, who is our Central Valley link. She's going to speak to you a little bit more about the work that she does regionally within the Central Valley. So with that, Annette, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Derek. My name's Annette Walliver. I am the local interagency network coordinator, and that's quite a mouthful. Basically, I am a field rep, one of the 8 in the state of California that serve current and prior military service members to get them connected to their benefits. So the links fulfill the mission of outreach that CalVet has. Next slide, please. So you can see by this map, CalVet has divided the state into 8 regions. Each color is a region with a coordinating link. So the 8 of us work collectively as a whole. We know the federal and state benefits, but we also work within our own communities. I'm the Central Valley link. I'm the purple, the one in the middle. So I work with my local communities to ensure that I network with my providers, internal agencies, and our veterans employment committees and collaboratives. So that way we get an augmented benefits and services, maybe that state and federal can't fulfill. Next slide, please. So we provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. By this network, we're able to refer them directly with established service providers. And these are many providers that I work with all the time. So I know I can do a soft handoff if a veteran or their family member or a service member needs additional information or services. We assist with local emergencies. Last year, and this year, we've also been dispatched to areas where there have been the fires that we've had in the state of California. Last year, I was deployed to the Tulare County Local Assistance Center for over a period of 3 weeks to assist veterans and their families if they were evacuees from the fires. I also did that with the creek fires here in Fresno. And in some cases, not only were their entire properties were destroyed, but also all their paperwork. And that DD Form 214, that's a very important piece of paperwork. So make sure you have a copy that you know you can get to. But by working with the County Veterans Service Office, we were able to get copies of DD Form 214s, and then also working with the CalVet home loan agent, get certificates of eligibility so that they could go forward with a CalVet or VA home loan. And if they did have a CalVet home loan, we were able to assist them with the insurance paperwork. Currently, the 8 of us links are being fielded calls that go into 1-800-CalVet headquarters. So if I get a call from Klamath Falls or San Diego, because I know the state and federal services and agencies that can assist them, I'm normally able to assist them. If we need to dive deeper into their particular area, I contact their link because they're the subject matter expert in their area. And then we provide leadership and advocacy to local communities. Once again, by staying in touch with these collaboratives, we're able to keep them updated on information about their benefits and services, any changes, and also to see if there's any gaps in services that we can field up to our headquarters that information. Next slide, please. So we want to get you connected to your benefits. And I'm the poster child for getting connected to benefits. I served in the United States Army from 1975 to 1978. But it wasn't until 11 years ago when I started working for the state of California, I didn't know I could file for compensation. So now I have a service-connected disability, which leads to additional benefits. I didn't realize I could enroll in VA healthcare, which I am enrolled in. So these agencies are part and parcel of the group of individuals that we work with to make sure that we have those resources available to you. When it comes to employment and training, the Employment Development Department has dedicated staff that work solely with veterans and can assist with resume preparation, interview skills, but also getting veterans connected directly with employers. And they're co-located in the America's Job Centers of California. And these AJCCs have the tools that you can use, whether it's printers, scanners, copiers, and it's at no cost to you. And you can use these facilities to file for unemployment, paid family leave, or disability. California state benefits, well, that's what CalVet is all about. And each state has different benefits and eligibility. And we work very closely with the County Veterans Service Office. They are the boots on the ground, as I say. They administer many of the state and federal benefits that you could be eligible for. So if you want to file for compensation or pension, it's DMV paperwork or college tuition fee waiver, they're there for you. Healthcare, we need to be mindful of our healthcare during this time. The VA medical centers and clinics and vet centers, if you need to enroll, you can either go online and enroll, or you can call and ask for eligibility, and they may be able to enroll you online. And I know many of my appointments with the healthcare system over the last year and a half have been through VA, Connect, and Telehealth, which is a remote way that you can stay in touch with your doctors. Next slide, please. So this is my contact information. If you remember nothing else, remember this. As I said, I'm a service-connected United States Army veteran. I've used many of the resources, so I'm very familiar with the routine. So please feel free to reach out to me, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Annette, as always. Really appreciate the information. All right, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Zimei Raimundo, who's the district manager for the Calvet Oakland District Office, and she's going to give a presentation on the VA claims, appeals, and the VSO role. So with that, Zimei, if you're ready, feel free to take it away.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Derek. Good morning, everybody. So today I will talk with you guys just an overview of claims, appeals, and the role of the VSOs. And when I talk about that, I'm not just going to talk about Calvet, but I'll be talking about the VSOs in general. Next slide, please. So the goals for this presentation, we want to understand or at least get a good overview of what the VA service-connected disability compensation is. We'll go over the 3 elements of service connection, a little bit of the VA claims process and prescribed forms. The VA world now relies heavily on submitting the correct forms. So we want to make sure you know which forms to use for whatever you want to do. We're going to go over the VA decision reviews and appealing to the Board of Veterans Appeals. And then the last couple of things, we're going to talk about the VSO or POA role, and then the Calvet district offices and the CVSOs that we work with. Next. So what is VA service-connected disability compensation? This is the monthly monetary benefits administered by the VA because a veteran was deemed service-connected for a particular disability or for several disabilities. The severity of the disability is rated based on the current condition, okay? Not what the condition was when you discharge, but what the condition is at the time of the filing or at the time of the exam. That is based on Title 38 CFR Part 4. So there is actually an online version of the 38 CFR. If you are curious to look that up, you can find it there. There's no statute of limitation to file, kind of like what Annette mentioned earlier. It doesn't mean that you didn't file immediately after discharge that you can't file anymore. You can file a claim after 10 years, after 15 years. Compensation amount is based on a fixed rate. So if the VA assigns 10%, there's a published rate for that, and it goes in increments of 10, and the highest being 100. So for everybody, if you are rated 10, you get a particular amount every month. If you are rated 50%, you get a particular amount every month. And that compensation rate is published by the VA as well. So you can take a look at that if you want. And if you are rated service-connected at 30% or higher, the VA may add additional benefits to your monthly amount. If you have, if you're married or if you have children, whether your children is biological, stepchild, or adopted, the VA has additional benefits for them if you are rated 30% or more. They have additional benefits as well for children who are 18 to 22 years old and in school. And there is a possibility to add dependent parents as well. It's just a little trickier to add the parents because the VA requires more information. And the VA benefits are not taxable. Next, please. So what is service connection? According to Title 38 USC 1110 and 38 CFR 3.4b, basic entitlement exists if the veteran has a disability incurred in or aggravated by active duty service and is not the result of willful misconduct or abuse of alcohol or drugs. Now, realistically, for us here in our office here in Oakland, if we talk to a veteran, the first thing we're going to tell you about compensation is that there's 3 elements to it. And the 3 important elements will help make you understand or will help you understand the rating decision that the VA issues. So what are the 3 elements? 1, there has to be an injury or disease during active duty. 2, you have to have a current disability. That's what you're claiming for, right? And then 3, there has to be a link between what happened in service and your current disability. Now, if the VA actually rates you and it determines whether or not you're going to get an exam, usually it means they saw something that's a possibility for the injury from service, and you provided proof of your current disability, and then they'll set you up for an exam to figure out whether or not there's a link between the two. Next slide, please. When they do rate for service connection, there are different ways for them to try and get somebody service connected. So the three principles for service connection, or the ways to get service connected, are direct service connection, aggravation of a pre-existing injury, and presumptive service connection. Next, please. For service connection under direct, okay, it's under 38 CFR 3.303A. Service connection connotes many factors, but basically means that the facts shown by evidence establish that a particular injury or disease resulting in disability was incurred coincident with service. Essentially, what the whole thing says is, the direct service connection, the easy example would be you injured your knee in service. And then since that injury, you came back into sick call to complain about your knee. And then now after discharge, you still have a knee issue. So if you claim service connection for that, that's a possible direct service connection, because there's something specific in your STRs or service treatment records. And that's what you're claiming a disability for. Next slide, please. Aggravation is if you're claiming a disability that you already had before you enlisted. And it's shown in the records that you have it, and hopefully there's an indication there on what the severity of the condition is. For the VA to service connect that, they will look into whether or not that disability was aggravated beyond the natural progression of the disease during your military service. So every disability has a natural progression according to the doctors. So this particular claim needs an opinion from the doctor that identifies whether your disability when you came into service or when you entered service was aggravated beyond natural progression by your service. Next, please. And presumptive regulations, this is the one where you don't necessarily have something in your service treatment records for you to claim presumptive service connection. These are the ones that we commonly refer to as like the Agent Orange conditions. So it could be chronic, it could be tropical. There's a list of prisoner of war related disabilities as well. Diseases associated with exposure to certain herbicide agents. That's what we commonly refer to as Agent Orange. At least that's the common term used by a lot of people. And then of course, there's the Camp Lejeune, the disabilities as well. There's a list for that. Please check out 38 CFR paragraphs 3.309A, 3.317, and 3.320. These are the paragraphs of Title 38 that has a list of disabilities that can be claimed for service connection under presumptive regulations. What it requires, is that your service fell under the circumstances for these regulations. So for those under the herbicide agents, exposure to Agent Orange or herbicide agents, it means they were there in the area that the regulation acknowledges as something where they were exposed to Agent Orange. And this is a common one for the Vietnam veterans because that's where it is. They're looking at the folks that were there in Vietnam. As long as the records indicate that they served where this exposure happened, if they now have the disability that's listed under 3.309, they can file a claim for that disability based on that regulation. So for chronic tropical prisoner of war, there's one for the burn pits as well. There's different disabilities under these presumptive regulations. So check that out, because that one, what the VA is looking at from service is whether or not the circumstances of your service fit with the criteria for the presumptive regulation. Next, please. So now let's start going into the claims process and the prescribed forms. Okay. So how do you start a claim? If you haven't filed a claim yet, okay, your very first claim would be the original claim. If you haven't filed a claim for compensation or pension, then your very first claim will be the original claim. If you've already filed a claim and got an increase, if you already filed a claim and got service connected, okay, and then let's say 5 years down the line, you think that your symptoms have worsened for that service connected condition, then you can file a claim for increase. That would be a claim for increase, right? And you're trying to tell them, hey, my symptoms worsened for my service connected knee injury. So you claim an increase. Sometimes you file a claim originally for, let's say, the knee. And then 5 years down the line, you realized, oh, I can file a claim for my shoulder. And that would be a new claim. That the VA considers that a new claim because you've had a claim before, but this particular disability was not part of that claim. So that would be a new claim or a new issue. So these three, the original claims, the claim for increase, and the new claims or the new issues, those are filed using a VA form 21-526EZ. Next slide, please. So what you will use for those is the 21-526EZ. That is a prescribed form for an original claim, a claim for increase, and a claim for new issues or disabilities, or even a claim for disabilities secondary to an already service-connected disability. Sometimes there are disabilities that can cause other disabilities. A common example would be diabetes. Diabetes affects a lot of functions in our body. So there are accepted particular disabilities that doctors say happen because a particular person already has diabetes. So that's something that can be claimed as a secondary service connection. If you're filing a claim for that for the first time too, that also goes on a 526EZ. And this one, we just gave you a little clip of what the 526EZ looks like. I'm not quite sure if you see it real good, but that kind of is just the first page of it. Next slide, please. So what happens once you submit that 526EZ, right? First off, when you put together the 526EZ, make sure that you complete everything, like every part of it as much as you can. You submit that together with evidence, such as proof of the current condition of the disability you're claiming for. And then if it's a first or original claim, then you want to submit a copy of your DD-214. You package that together, you send that to the VA. The VA receives that completed packet and they begin development. So they put it in their system and then they begin development. So it goes through first the development process. They take a look and see what is needed. Trying to set you up for a VA exam is part of the development process. Writing you back to ask you for medical evidence because you didn't submit one or because you cited a doctor but didn't submit records from that doctor, then they'll ask you to either sign a 41 or 42 with them so that they can request it from the doctor, or they can actually just ask you to submit the records itself. After the development, the VA takes a look at it again and sees if everything is complete. They review it, and then they send it to a rating specialist. The rating specialist makes a determination on whether that condition is related to service. How do they go about with that? They look for the three things, right? Something from service, current diagnosis, and the link between the two, usually via the CMP exam that you completed. After a rating decision, a rating specialist makes that determination. It then goes on to the last stage of the process where the VA promulgates it. It means they put it in their system, they key it in if it's a grant so that it can release money. And then they send a letter to notify you of the decision. Next slide, please. So this is pretty much what the diagram says, right? So gather all the evidence that you need, request for a copy of the appropriate form, make sure you have the prescribed form, appropriate prescribed form. If you do not use the correct one, the VA will just send you back a letter that says you did not use the right form and they will send you the form. When you complete the form, make sure you answer every little block that they have, okay? And don't forget to sign it. Then submit the claim form together with all the supporting documents. Report for any CMP exam that they schedule. If they schedule you for an exam, make sure you make it. And then I'll wait for their decision. Next slide, please. Now, what happens after they make a decision. What are your options now? The VA has made a decision. What can you do? If there's something in that decision, let's say you were denied service connection for a particular condition, then you have 3 options from there on. As long as you take action immediately, you can submit a higher level review. That's the one in the middle over there. The higher level review means you do not have anything else to submit. You just think that they made a mistake on how they developed your claim or on applying a regulation. That's what goes through the higher level review, because you cannot submit any new evidence. You cannot submit any new argument. If you read your rating decision and they say, let's just use an example that's very easy. They say that you don't have a diagnosis. You didn't provide proof of a diagnosis for a current condition. Then that would be something where you need to provide them proof. You need to provide medical statement or medical evidence, and you would then submit a supplemental claim. The third option is appeal to the board. I'll push that down for later. We've got additional slides for that. But let's go into a supplemental claim and a higher level review right now. If you are going to do a supplemental claim, next slide, please. If you're going to do a supplemental claim, the prescribed form to complete is a VA form 20-0995. That's the supplemental claim form. You need to complete that if you are submitting additional evidence and you're claiming to reopen a disability claim denied by the VA over a year ago. If it's more than a year ago, you can use the 0995 to submit a supplemental claim. As long as it's denied before, you have to use the 0995 and submit additional evidence. If you are requesting a decision review for something that was denied within the past year, you can still use the 0995, because this is the prescribed form if you know that there is additional evidence to submit to help your claim. So within 1 year or past the 1 year, you can use the 0995, but you need to submit new and relevant evidence. New and relevant evidence, the easiest thing to remember is just make sure you look at your rating decision narrative and figure out why they denied you. And if it's something to do with they don't have your medical information that you can provide them, then you want to submit that. It's important to address the VA's reason for denying the claim when you're submitting a supplemental claim. Next, please. The other option, but this one is strictly for within 1 year from the denial or the decision, okay? Within 1 year, you do not have any additional evidence to submit, but you believe or you think, or as a VSO, you look at the records and you know that there is something in the records that the VA failed to do, then this is the proper route. The prescribed form is a 20-0996 for a higher level review. It has to be within 12 months, right? If you submit a 0996 past 1 year from the denial, the VA will just send you back a letter that says you can't do a higher level review. Please, complete an 0995 instead. We cannot submit any new evidence, nor can we provide a new argument. All we need to do for a higher level review is point out what the VA erred in. Did they miss a step in the development process, or did they not apply a regulation properly? That's very strict when it comes to the higher level reviews. Next, please. All of these forms, 526EZ, 0995, 0996, and I think I skipped through that one, but the 0966 is an intent to file. Okay. All of these can be submitted directly to Janesville, to the VA's Claims Intake Center, and this is their address. You can also fax it to them at this number. And since I think I kind of skipped the 0966, the 0966 is an intent to file, and that can be submitted in line with you trying to prepare for submitting a full packet using a 526EZ. So original, new, and claim for increase. But you don't have all the evidence yet. You can submit the 0966 like today. Today is the 28th. Tomorrow is the last day of the month. You can't get your packet together complete for today or tomorrow. So you can submit an 0966 knowing that you're submitting an original claim or a new claim or a claim for increase. that will help protect the possible effective date as long as within 1 year you submit a 526EZ. So those are the forms that you can submit to the VA. That's the address, that's the fax number. Next, please. And for those of you that prefer to go online, you can actually go to va.gov. Under va.gov disability and how to file, there is a button there that you can click if you want to file online, and then this thing will pop up, that particular shot there, and you can log in to va.gov. If you don't have an account yet, you can create one. You can log on using your My Health eVet account if you already have one, or you can log on using id.me. That way it makes it easier for the veteran to allow you, or sorry, makes it easier for the VA to allow you to file claims online. And I think there are certain easy letters that you can request for as well online. Next slide, please. Okay, so just going back to submitting a claim for service connection, what do we need to do, right? Download the correct form. Remember the correct form, download that or get a copy of that. If you need assistance in filing a claim, please consider appointing a VSO. We can help you out with explaining what's necessary, and we can help also track your claim. If you appoint a VSO, we have read-only access to your electronic file if you allow us. And that will help sometimes when some cases are stuck, or to try and understand what the VA is still waiting on. You can be familiar if if the closest person to you is a county veteran service office, then please be familiar with them. They are a great resource for claim submission and other veteran-related information. I mentioned the ITF earlier. That's a good form to use if you know you're submitting a 526EZ because you're trying to submit an original claim, a new claim, or a claim for increase, but you're at the end of the month and you can't put together everything yet. So instead of submitting the 526, you can do the ITF, which is the 0966, and just make sure that you submit the complete packet on a 526EZ within 1 year from the submission of your intent to file. Okay. Additional note there, just to make it clear, I hope I've been making it clear that the ITF only works for your 526EZ. So those do not work for your supplemental claims or higher level reviews, okay? Only for the 526EZs. You can call the VA or your VSO or the CVSO if you appointed one for the status of your claim after you file it. Next, please. This is just a diagram to kind of show you who makes a decision depending on what you file. So on a decision review, the 3 options we showed you earlier, right? And we've discussed 2 of them. The 2 that we've discussed so far are under still the VA. It's still the Veterans Benefits Administration that makes a decision on this. Their goal is to finish the review within 125 days. So for higher level reviews and supplemental claims, it's 125 days. Now, when you appear to the board, that is different because that form goes to the Board of Veterans Appeals. That's a longer wait, averaging right now for the direct docket about 1 year. But it's a lot longer for the ones, especially the ones that request for a hearing. And we will start discussing how do you appeal to the board if you want to appeal to the board. Next slide, please. So if you do not want to do a supplemental claim or a higher level review, you're within the 1 year of the decision, you want to go straight to the board because the VA actually did this when they started with the Appeals Modernization Act, these 3 options. You now can go directly to the board. You have to use a VA form 10182. That is a prescribed form for submitting your notice of disagreement to the board. And it must be filed within 1 year from the VA notice of decision. What constitutes an appeal? An appeal of a decision by the agency of original jurisdiction consists of a notice of disagreement submitted to the board. So for it to be valid, you have to use the 10182 and you submit it to the board. Next slide, please. This is just additional Title 38 that tells you that you need to submit it within 1 year. And next slide, please. And there's 3 lanes when you submit a 10182. There's the direct lane, there's an evidence lane, and there's a hearing lane. This is what happens when you choose the direct review lane. Okay. When the board receives the 10182, then and you choose the direct lane, it means you're just asking the board to review the decision as it is. So the only time frame that they're looking at is from the date you filed the claim till the decision was made. And that, once they receive the 10182, goes into the docket and waits for its turn to be reviewed by the judge. And once the judge reviews it, then a decision is made. Okay. No submission of additional evidence or arguments, no hearing. The direct review lane is just direct review. You ask the board to review the claim because you think the VA made a mistake, plain and simple. You're not adding anything new. Next, please. The evidence lane, on the other hand, if you choose that, once the board receives the 10182, they keep it open for 90 days. The 90-day count begins with the submission of the 10182. So within 90 days from the submission of the 10182, you can submit additional evidence. If you think that there's additional evidence to submit, but you can't get it yet, but you need to submit your 10182, you can submit it. You can check the evidence lane, and then you got 90 days from the time that you submit the 10182 to submit that. The board will not start putting that in the review queue until after the 90 days. So 10182, 90 days, and then it starts going into the BVA review docket, waiting for a judge to get to it, to review it, and then make a decision. The last lane, next please. The last lane is the hearing lane. So the 10182, right? If you choose the hearing lane, then it'll wait for the board to actually schedule a hearing. Right now, the board is barely touching the new hearing requests based on the 10182 because they're still trying to finish out what they refer to as legacy hearing appeals. These are the appeals from several years back that have been waiting for a hearing. So yes, this is the longest wait option or longest wait lane for the BVA. Now, once a hearing is scheduled and the hearing happens, the board automatically waits 90 days for the veteran to submit additional evidence. Based on the hearing itself, if you've discussed something that is needed but is not yet available to submit, then you are given the 90 days to submit additional evidence. Only after that 90 days will the judge or will the case then be sent back to the judge to await review and determination. So this is the lane that takes the longest time. Next, please. Appeals to the board can be mailed to their address or faxed at that number. They do not have an electronic option yet as far as accepting 10182s, although they have already created an opportunity for the VSOs or the POAs to submit online. Next, please. So now, what is a VSO? A VSO or a POA? These two terms are interchangeable. For POA, though, we have to have POA for VA purposes. So there's service organizations, like CalVet is a service organization. Service organization representatives are under Title 38 CFR 14.629. We are a recognized organization. We are recognized by the Office of the General Counsel, the OGC. They are the VA's entity that approves and disapproves requests for representing veterans, and be accredited. Service organizations do not charge. Okay, our services are free of charge. The VA also has opened up to agents and attorneys. So as a veteran, you can seek an agent, an accredited agent, or an accredited attorney. They are under 14.629B of Title 38 CFR. It says no individual may assist claimants in the preparation, presentation, and prosecution of claims for VA benefits as an agent or attorney unless he or she has first been accredited by VA for such purposes. So they do all the things. The VA OGC has requirements before we are recognized as accredited representatives or agents and attorneys. The difference between service organizations and agents and attorneys, attorneys for sure can bill you. There's an arrangement where they can bill you for their services. Next slide, please. What is the role of a VSO or a POA, right? We're here to assist you with claim submission and appeals representation. And I say assist you because we don't do everything for you. You are or should be an active participant in your claim. But we can help explain certain things to you. If you sign the form and check the box that allows us access to your electronic folder, then we can take a look at what the VA is looking at, evidence that they've received. That way it actually helps us help you, because that is usually what we use the most when we are going for a higher level review. We want to know where they made a mistake. And the best way to figure that out is by reviewing your electronic folder to find out if the VA missed a step. And that's what we point out in a higher level review. So VSOs are recognized by OGC and will not charge for services. Examples of VSOs is one, state organizations. CalVet is a state organization, and every state has a different state organization. Traditionally, we only assist those who reside in the state. Things have been a little different since the pandemic, and with the availability of virtual hearings and that. So we do have clients that perhaps started their appeal with us and moved to a different state. So now, before we used to hand them off to the state organization where they live now, but with virtual hearings, we can now actually still assist them as long as they choose a virtual hearing. National service organizations, that's another, there's a lot of different national organizations, such as AMVETS, American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and Paralyzed Veterans of America. I cite these folks because they are in the same building as we are. AMVETS, ALDA, VFW, they're my neighbors here. We're here in Oakland, co-located with the VA, and we're on the same floor. PVA, Paralyzed Veterans of America, they actually have an office in the VA's Sacramento satellite office. But there are others out there. There's a long list of them. But these are examples of national service organizations, and how they differ from us. They actually have other offices in the different states. So you can go to Washington, the state of Washington, and you might find their offices there as well. Now, county veteran service offices, or the CVSOs, they may have representatives who are cross-accredited with the state organization and the NSOs. In the CFR, their initial training is tied with the state organization. So the CVSOs here in California, their initial training comes from CalVet. After they are accredited with us, then they have the opportunity to request cross-accreditation. They can go to AL or DAV and ask them if they can be cross-accredited. That way they can help more veterans in the community. For CalVet, we work closely with the CVSOs because we do not have CalVet offices in the different areas other than the buildings where the VA regional office is. So they're a great resource to have. Next, please. How do you appoint a VSO? You appoint a VSO by using the VA Form 21-22. Appointment of Veteran Service Organization as claimant's representative. The 21-22 needs to be signed by a veteran and the VSO. It has to have two signatures. it cannot be acknowledged if we put your information there and only our signature. It will not be acknowledged if you put your information there and our organization, but only has your signature. So it has to be both. It means we've already talked to each other, that we will help you and that we will represent you. It's valid only for claims, VA claims, and appeals purposes. Next slide, please. So, CalVet, our offices, I mentioned earlier, are co-located with the VA regional office buildings. So we have an office in the Los Angeles regional office. We have one in San Diego. In Oakland, that's where I am right now, here in Oakland. That's the view and the window here in the building. And Oakland has a satellite office in Sacramento. They call it the Sacramento satellite office, but it's actually in Rancho Cordova. So we also have a small office there. Most of you will probably work initially with CVSOs accredited with CalVet. So if you've gone to a CVSO, they are accredited with CalVet or in training with CalVet. If they're in training, usually the training is about 4 to 6 months for them to be trained, take their accreditation test, and then get registered with OGC. If they are still in training, you work with them, their claims usually are submitted through our office for review before submission to the VA because they're in training. If that again usually lasts about 4 to 6 months. CVSOs will normally reach out to the district office, the CalVet district office, if they're dealing with us, if a claim or decision is stuck beyond the VA suspense date. So every time the VA goes through their letters, they send you asking or telling you that there's development still ongoing with your claim, they assign a suspense date. And sometimes they're not quite on track with that suspense date. Sometimes it gets stuck. During the pandemic, some of these cases are getting stuck several months beyond the suspense date. So this is a good chance where we get notified and we reach out directly to the VA to try and help, get it moving and get it unstuck. Now, if you have hearings before the BVA judges or just for the VA predetermination or due process cases, the district office staff, so the staff in my office, will be the ones to review and prepare for the scheduled hearings, represent you if you actually want to go here or if you want to do a virtual hearing. That will be us. That's how we work with the counties. They're there, right there with you guys, closer to you guys. They usually start out with the claims. Once it goes into an appeal or the request for a hearing for certain cases that might require a hearing, then we take over. And some of the some of the VSOs, like I mentioned earlier, the NSOs, if the CVSO is accredited with them, there's a similar relationship. Okay, what the CalVet district office does is similar to what the, let's say, DAV or American Legion or AMVETS will do. All right, next slide, please. These are the addresses of our respective offices, the CalVet district offices. I am in Oakland, so our address is there in Oakland. That's our phone number. Please, we encourage you to call us first because we are not fully back in the office yet. We have staff in the office right now. I think everybody takes 2 days in the office and then 3 days working from home. So before you visit our office, please give us a call. We currently open, though we do accept walk-ins and appointments between 3 a.m. and 9, between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Fridays, we're closed to the public, except if there is a scheduled hearing. And we will be here for the scheduled hearing. If you call our number and you end up in voicemail, please leave your name and your telephone number clearly so we can return your call. We've had instances where people are too fast in leaving us their numbers that we are unable to catch the right number to call them back, or we don't get their name. So please be clear when leaving your name and your phone number. Next, please. I think that, the next 3 slides just give you an idea of the CVSOs that we work with. So Oakland District Office, we work with 43 counties in Northern California, Central and Northern California. LA, next slide, please. Works with those counties, 2, 4, 6, 7 counties. And then San Diego, next slide, please, works with 5. If you guys notice, San Bernardino is shared between LA and San Diego. This jurisdiction split is based on how the VA regional offices have their jurisdiction split as well. I think it's based on zip code. Next slide, please. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Hopefully I was clear enough.
Great. Thank you so much, Sime. We really appreciate it. That is just incredibly valuable information. Certainly appreciate your time and providing all of this information for us today. So with that, we will go ahead and transition into our questions and answers time slot. My colleague Jana has been fielding those questions. I know we had a few people who have raised their hands, and I kind of see some chats going on here. So Jana, do we have any questions to address at this time?
Yes. So as the whole webinar has been happening, we've had a little over 70 questions that have come through. So I've answered a lot of them, and a lot of the questions you guys were asking were very specific to your situation. And so a lot of the answers I sent you guys were either to contact ZMA or the CVSO directly, only because it's hard to answer every single person's different scenario that's different. And we also don't want to give out personal information either. So some of those answers, I did respond that way, but I do want to go through some of the questions that were a little less specific, that wouldn't be giving out any personal information. And then also, so we'll go over those, but then also a lot of people asked for the PowerPoint slides. So for those of you that sent me your email address, thank you. I notated them. I kind of stopped saying thank you to those only because I wanted to address other questions, but give me about an hour and a half or so, and I will send you guys the PowerPoint slides. It's going to come from our CalTAP email address box, so then you'll have that email address as well. So Zime, I do have some questions for you. So, okay, so the first one says, I need help filing an appeal for a claim that has been denied. I need to contact an American Legion VSO rep. Who do I contact for that?
American Legion's phone number is 510-637-6046. That's American Legion here in Oakland.
Great. Could you, I'm going to type
the
that
answer.
now. Can you say that phone number one more time?
510
Uh-huh.
637
Uh-huh.
6046.
6046. All right, I'm typing that into your answers. That way you have that, sir. Okay. Does the VA healthcare communicate with benefits, or do you still have to file the appeal?
When they say VA healthcare, really it's communication between the VA, VBA, and VHA is realistically just based on their staff looking into the systems. So I would probably say no. They don't communicate well. So if you have an issue with one entity or the other, you have to actually take it up with them. When you say you want to file an appeal, I assume that you actually maybe have a denial from a service-connected claim that was submitted, and you think that the VHA information that you have did not get into the VA's records. If that is the case, though, those records should have been pulled as long as you provided them information on where you were going. If you tell them, I go to Fort Miley, I've been going to them the last 2 years, then the VA, the VBA part, who's processing the claim, can pull those records because they are able to go into the system and pull that. And if that's the issue, then it would be good for you to start reaching out to a VSO now to really figure out if those records were not pulled or they were pulled, but there's a different reason why they're denying the claim.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. So this one says, please explain how the disability calculator works and that it is not regular math. Your disabilities need to equal 210% regular math to reach 100% on the calculator. It's confusing to so many veterans that think they are 100% disabled.
The VA does not add the disabilities. They combine the disabilities and they have a combined ratings table. If you go online, if you want to go online and go to the ecfr.gov site, you can search for the ratings, the combined ratings table, and that ratings table will pop up for you. How do I explain that? That takes a little bit more time. But essentially, the VA looks at your several disabilities and starts combining them, starting with the highest rating. So if you've got a 50%, a 30%, a 20%, and a 10%, the VA will combine the 50% and the 30 first, get the result of that, and then combine that result with the next one, which is 20%, get the result from that, and then that result, combine it with the 10%. I think it'd be hard for me to try and explain how to do that, but if you're in my office, I can show you the ratings table and I can show you how that's done. And the same thing, any VSO can actually show you how it's done. You just got to seek them out and then they can explain it to you.
Thank you. Let's see here. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to move my cursor here. Here we go. Okay. I submitted a claim last November and it was denied in 2 days. Is that a normal time frame?
You probably submitted a supplemental claim and did not submit new and relevant evidence. Because yes, we've seen them do quick denials when you do not address the reason for the denial when you submit your claim. That's my best guess based on not knowing details about the issue. So again, this is one of those cases where I would advise you guys to seek out a VSO, because then they can figure out, or if not, if you can start with looking at a rating decision narrative that they sent to you together with the notification of the decision. And the rating decision narrative, there's reasons and basis there, and it tells you why they denied it. If you take a look at that, that's how you figure out what new and relevant evidence to submit with your supplemental claim.
Do you need to submit a doctor's note with an increase claim form request?
Not necessarily, because you're already service connected. And as long as your VA exam was more than 1 year old, then the VA, when they receive that, will schedule you for a VA exam. However, if you are trying to argue your evaluation and the decision is still within the 1 year, then yes, you should.
Okay. My VFW VSO will not respond to my emails or calls ever. How do I find out who his boss is?
VFW, is this in Oakland? Because if it's in Oakland, I'll give them a benefit of the doubt. They were closed for a little bit. They've had a couple of their representatives retire and they are training a new person. So I think the person that's trying to answer for the Oakland area is someone else right now. Their number also changed. A lot of the VSOs on this floor, their phone numbers changed except for CalVet and AmVets because we never really left. But the others have different numbers now. So I will start with giving you the phone number for VFW here first. Their new number is 510-637-6402. That is a phone number, the new phone number. Again, 510-637-6402 for the VFW here in Oakland. If you still don't get a response, give them a few days, okay? If you still don't get a response, I would tell you probably to go online and search for VFW, for Veterans of Foreign Wars. I'm sure they have a website. I know for sure they have a website. I just don't remember what their website is on the top of my head right now. But they do have a website and there should be information there on who you can contact for complaints.
Okay. Let's see here. Those are some emails. Thank you everybody for sending me your emails. We'll make sure to get you the PowerPoint. I have a service-connected rating for my knee and my injury keeps getting worse. I have submitted an increase twice now over the last 12 months. And after my comp and pen appointment, all of the doctors agree that the x-rays and MRIs show that it's worsening. However, the VA keeps denying my increase. What should I do?
VA ratings are based on symptoms. So if your symptoms fall within a particular rating, they assign you that rating. For them to give you the next higher evaluation, your symptoms should fall under the next higher evaluation. Sometimes some disabilities don't go from 10 to 20, 20 to 30. There are some disabilities that go from 10 to 20 and then 20 to 50, or 10 to 20 to 30 and then 50. So there's like skips there, which means your condition might have worsened, but it's not worse enough to get to the next higher evaluation. So again, my suggestion would be go look at the rating decision narrative that you got from the VA when they denied the increase. It'll show you there what the current symptoms that they considered for you are and what symptoms warrant the next higher evaluation. Now, if you think that you have the symptoms for the next higher evaluation, then I would suggest you talk to your doctors who agree that your symptoms have worsened to write a statement that fits that, so that send that into the VA, and that should help the VA understand what your symptoms are. Because sometimes I do understand that some veterans do not answer honestly when they're at the VA exam because they don't know the doctor. But usually that goes against you, because if you're not giving them all your symptoms, then they won't be able to rate you appropriately.
Okay, thank you. So I think we are going to do maybe 2 more questions. And then I do see a lot of people are also asking to see when this recording will be put on our website. It is taking right now about 3 weeks or so to get our recordings put on our website. It does go through our communications department first, so you'll have to bear with us. We do apologize for the wait, but this recording will eventually be on our website. I'll go ahead and post in the chat where the previous recorded website or recordings can go. But like I said, we're going to do about 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. So the first question is going to be, I'm wondering why we cannot get the VA funding fee back if we filed an intent to file while we're still on active duty. The VA uses the discharge dates as the effective dates for pay, but it does not make sense to use the date also for the VA funding fee. Is there a way to get that waived, or to request that the VA funding fee be returned, since we obviously had the issues earlier, but could not get a decision while we were still in?
I cannot give you a good answer right now for that one. So that's one of those that I'd say seek out a CVSO, and that way to help figure out what's happening with that and how they can help out with you on that one.
Okay. So the other question is saying that this person's dad was in Vietnam. He was stationed in Thailand. They are trying to get a copy of the flight manifest showing his flight from Travis Air Force Base to Vietnam. It was done a very long time ago. If the manifest still exists, where would they even get a copy from? Do you have any idea?
Well, if the veteran was stationed in Thailand and flew to Vietnam, there should be something in their service personnel records that would indicate that, because they would, I can't remember, I think in the 201 file, there is a document that indicates where each enlisted person goes to, especially if they're going to an area like Vietnam at that point where there was a conflict. Now, there are instances where some folks were just on temporary duties, so they're just there for a very short period, and that's not their usual duty. You know, they weren't supposed to fly there on a regular basis, so they're just temporarily doing that because somebody's gone. Then there would be a need for that particular person to request for the temporary duty assignments from the National Personnel Record Center. Although those can also be requested by the VA. but it's better if the veteran does it, because sometimes it doesn't always pop up in the records.
Okay. So I think that was the last question that we're going to do. There are some more very specific questions I'm seeing in the section. And again, you guys contact your CVSO, or you can always contact the district offices. We have all their contact information on the screen here. In the chat, I do see the last entry I put in there was how to find your CVSO. So I'll put a couple more things in here too. But other than that, we are going to wrap up the questions right now. So I will hand it back over to you, Derek. Okay. And as Derek is coming back on, oh, there he is. Let's see.
Okay, so I also just wanted to highlight our series of upcoming webinars that we're going to be hosting throughout the month of November. As I mentioned earlier in our overview, we've designed a whole series of webinars that are very topic specific. So I highly encourage you to follow along, stay up to date as we present this series of webinars going forward. We just want to thank you again for your participation in today's webinar. Feel free to reach out to us, to Calvet or CalTAP, or myself, and or Jana, or any one of us, our presenters today, and we'll be happy to follow up with you with anything that you may need. So thank you for participating. Thank you for your service as well. And we wish you all the best. Stay healthy, happy, and we hope to see you all again. Thanks again.